Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the We Just Here podcast. I'm your boy Brizzy J,
I am CJ.
I'm Justin.
This is Vince.
and we're going to talk about adult topics in kids' movies. What do you guys think about that? You want to talk about that? It's okay, because you're going to do it anyway. So, I'm going to kick it off by asking you guys, what is your favorite animated movie?
I like Stuart Little. I feel like that's animated.
That is definitely a Justin answer. Stuart Little. I forgot about that movie.
I love Stuart Little.
But I wonder in a fight, I wonder who would win. Remy the Rat from Ratatouille or Stuart Little. But that is a conversation for another episode.
For real.
Me, definitely one of my favorites is Shark Tale. The most slept on DreamWorks movie and the best fish ocean movie of all time. Argue with your moms, don't argue with me.
That's a big claim.
Finding Nemo's pretty good.
Good movie though. Finding Nemo is I feel like a lot of people's answer.
Y'all need to find some better movies than Finding Nemo because Shark Tale is one of them.
The Reef is okay, but that's like
I saw that.
Compare.
The who?
It's a good. I liked it as a kid.
The Reef.
Nowadays it's called Shark Bait for some reason.
See, they can't even choose a name. That's why Shark Tale is the best. But anyways, Vince, what about you?
I mean, obvious answer would be The Incredibles, but if you're trying to do something more unique, I think I would go with, I don't know if you guys remember Jackie Chan, The Adventures of Jackie Chan.
Ooh, I remember.
Those were pretty cool.
I didn't watch that though. I didn't. I've seen it, but I never watched it.
I think that's a stylish pick for the Jackie Chan Adventure series. I was not expecting that answer from you, but it's good. And I think they have episodes currently out on like Tubi to rewatch, but that's cool.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that movie, but I've obviously heard of The Incredibles. Incredibles is an incredible movie, but you want to know what also is an incredible movie?
Nope.
Shark Tale.
My favorite animated movie is The Lion King, which is actually a great big selling movie. It sold a lot more than Shark Tale.
Okay.
But that's all I'm gonna say about that. I guess as kids, we just all enjoy just watching, the magic of, what's going on, and you fall in love with the characters. You don't think about the story that much, and you don't really think about, certain topics that may come up. You're just enjoying. But as you get older, you start experiencing more things. You just notice, like, for example, I was talking about a little earlier. I was like, oh, I thought about myself as a child, and then going back, growing up and looking at Shrek and saying, wait a minute, they were cussing in that movie. And then when you get a little older, you're like, wait a minute, you know what? Some of these points in here hit. Like, Shrek is about, you know, not judging a book by its cover, just to put a blanket statement over it, and treating people, differently because of how they look. And it's just, it's just a lot of things that you can find in certain movies like that. And I think it's pretty cool how you slowly realize that. Obviously, Lion King is very iconic. My mom actually told me that she took me to see it in theaters when it was re-released, and I didn't like it, which is surprising. And to be honest, after that, I liked it a lot, but I wasn't a huge fan because everybody was always like, "Oh my gosh, my favorite animal is a lion. Lions are so cool." And I was like, "All right, y'all get on my nerves." So Lion King was like, "Yeah." But then as I got older, I started to go through some of the things that Simba went through. I was like, you know what? I completely relate to it. There's a lot of lessons, including holding grudges. I've had an issue with that before. Holding grudges actually doesn't hurt the person that you're mad at or you're holding a grudge against, but it hurt yourself even more. And um, I see that in Scar's character. Well, what happens to him. He's holding a grudge against his brother for whatever reason. He just doesn't like him.
I remember when I saw the movie. It was sad to see Mufasa die. That was the most iconic part that a lot of kids remember being tragic, like in the cartoon. I just can't remember if it was in theaters or at home, like with my. I know I was watching it with somebody. I was definitely watching it with like family next to me, but I was young, and during that stage, I feel like there was a bunch of films played back to back on what was it? Like those retro style pop in the DVR, right?
Yeah,
And I had Lion King for sure, but afterwards it just stayed in my memory of like that scene where Mufasa is done so dirty and he falls into the stampede. But yeah, like if I answered your question, my first interaction was just the tragic part of Lion King and then all the fun songs. I guess Timon and Pumbaa, they made up for all the tragedy, like they added that comic relief.
they definitely did. You know what? A lot of they definitely taught us one of the biggest lessons. I don't think it's the biggest lesson, but Hakuna Matata means no worries. You can't do anything about what's already been done, so you can't you know spend your life worrying about it. So leave it in the past, and that leads me to the next one. Actually, you remember the scene where Simba says that he's been running from his past for so long because of the trauma of his father dying and thinking that he caused it. But Rafiki hits him in the head and he said, "What did you do that for?" And Rafiki says, "It doesn't matter, it's in the past." And he said, "Yeah, but it still hurts." And then I quote, "Oh, yes, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. So what are you going to do?" And I always took that to heart when it came, with dealing with issues that I've had in the past, and even today, issues that I still have that you know, I don't mean to hold on to, but it has just happened. So I look at that movie a lot, and I see myself in Simba, and yeah, there's a lot of reflecting that the movie makes me do. If you don't letting go of the past, it's going to ruin your present and possibly your future. So Scar thought that killing Mufasa would help him, but all of
Scar
that,
needed some Hakuna Matata.
but all of the hatred and the grudges that he was holding, grudges, anger, hatred that that he held on to, it ends up being his downfall. You may think holding grudges is having power over the person that you're upset with, and he temporarily gains that power, but what him holding his grudge ultimately led to was his downfall. He died. So it's absolutely not healthy to hold on to that for years and years. So yeah, did you guys ever pick up on that at all?
I mean, when I s- I look at it from a different perspective. So I want to talk from the context of like I haven't watched the new Lion King movies, and so my interaction is based on the original one
Right.
that came. Is it like 20 years ago that it came out?
30,
30 years ago.
31. Wait, 1994.
Yeah. So to your point about holding on grudges, I will say when I saw basically like I think it's like a story on like family betrayal. So when Scar literally betrayed Simba, I didn't know that. I mean, as a kid watching that movie, it's supposed to be like a children's film, and so all the happy moments, like Justin was talking about, all the funny moments are great, but to realize that sometimes the people who can hurt you the most are people who are very close to you. that makes the betrayal much stronger, and to be able to be like, I'm gonna forgive these people, that makes it very, very, very hard. And so I can understand why, at least from Simba's perspective, like he didn't, is it Simba?
Yeah.
Like he didn't want to go back home because he was still afraid and he was still thinking about the past and how he just couldn't face it. And I don't know that I would be able to face it without, I guess, the encouragement from his friends. And so it's tough when people close to you hurt you, and letting go of that is very difficult. But I guess as you see in the movie, when he's able to do that, I think that's when things start to turn around for the better.
You know what? Actually, that part doesn't really come in until the second movie because Simba is holding on to hurt from the family betrayal. He didn't know that he was betrayed by the family yet. So in the second movie, he has a hard time letting go of that betrayal because here comes this new lion. I don't know if you've seen it. I hear of this new lion named Kovu who looks exactly like the uncle that killed my father. So, and he comes from, I'm not going to say the same background, but he's what they call an outsider, someone that doesn't live in the Pride Lands. Um, his mother, Kovu, his mother was specifically banished and because they were still loyal to Scar and, tried to attack Simba and everything. So Kovu happened to be born afterwards, but um, he was raised to hate Simba and the royal family because supposedly Scar chose him to be his heir, even though he's not Scar's son. Kovu, ends up falling in love with Simba's daughter, and it's kind of hard to get his approval. And then once he does, there's this feeling of betrayal again for for Simba. He starts to feel betrayed again because, unbeknownst to Kovu, his mother planned a sneak attack, and she thought that he thought that Kovu led him to that spot. So after that, he got out, thank God. But after that, he goes to Simba to try to apologize and try to say, "Hey, I had nothing to do with that." But Simba was just so hurt and blinded by the betrayal and the anger, especially after letting your guard down. You have a trouble with it before, and then you let your guard down. And you think, okay, it's all right to open up to people, and then they do it again, almost immediately. So he was closed off, and essentially banished him from the Pride Lands as well. But eventually, he does get over that hurt due to his daughter Kiara falling in love you know with Kovu and helping him see that, hey, yeah, this thing happened, but we are all lions. We're all the same, and we should be together. And he agrees, and he finally, well, he's not. Well, I'm not gonna say he agrees. He finally sees their light because it turns out that he's the one that told um, Kiara that we are one and the same. So he had to learn that lesson again himself um, when that situation occurred. It's a funny full circle moment, and Lion King is all about the circle of life. So that is definitely. I'm glad you brought that up. The betrayal. Glad I like that.
Yeah, there's hidden messages and like a lot of movies that I grew up with. Shrek being a big one because um it's beloved in the household and not judging a book by its cover is the takeaway from it. I think with what Kung Fu Panda, it's kind of similar. It's like the least you'd expect to be the hero happens to be like the main lovable like kind of chubby guy and he's like he ends up being the dragon warrior. I like that. Another movie that I liked growing up is man, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank. There's shoot, I'm forgetting it. Come back to me. Come back to me.
Well, I don't think you were about to say Shark Tale.
Not Shark Tale. Um,
Hey, y'all ain't about to be dissing Shark Tale like that.
I
Will
love
Smith is
Shark Tale.
great.
I love it. I remember waking up to the DVD. I
It's
remember,
the car wash scene that does it for me. I love, yeah.
honestly, my favorite scene was actually not necessarily my favorite scene, but I liked in the special features where the shrimp danced to Bye Bye Bye. It was hilarious.
Hmm.
Bro. But yeah, I mean, even Shark Tale, though, on a more serious note, like the adult lessons in Shark Tale is why I really praise that movie as much as I do. All jokes aside, I love like one of the things I want tattooed on me is to just be yourself. Like I pride myself in being myself. I don't think I've ever really tried to be someone that wanted to fit in the crowd. I knew at a very young age that I was different and I was okay with being different. And again, like the movie Shark Tale, if you don't know the story or haven't seen the movie, I'm gonna be praying for you. And I pray that after this episode, you sit down and watch one of the greatest animated movies you can ever watch in your lifetime. And it stars Will Smith. Uh, but it's all about being yourself. Like Oscar claims himself to be a shark slayer and he becomes like a celebrity. People believe that he's this big, mighty, strong fish. In reality, he's not. But it takes him to go through many different life journeys to realize, well, I may not be the shark slayer, but I'm still a really cool guy. I'm still a really cool fish. I'm still played by Will Smith. I'm still
Hmm.
Oscar. I may not be the shark slayer, but I'm the slayer, Oscar the Slayer. But other than Shark Tale, another really movie that really
Hold on, before you, I'm sorry, before you get to that, another lesson in Shark Tale. See, I do like it. Another lesson in Shark Tale is, you know, one, just tell the truth, and tell the truth, and it'll come back to bite you. And you never really know a good thing until it's gone. You don't notice that you have a good thing until it's gone. Um, Angie absolutely loved him, and he was looking for attention, and she gave him attention. She liked him. She was his friend, and then had an interest in him. But he went to go look for other people because he didn't feel like he had that. Look for that love in other people that he wanted, and love and attention and admiration, uh, validation.
not even other people. Go ahead and speak on it. On women, he was going for a gold digger. And he had a dime right there. He had a moral
Right.
supporting friend who wanted him, who needed him, but
Yep.
he went to go get a girl who was just there for the cash.
Tragic. Tragic, yeah.
And he noticed that as soon as all of that was over, everybody else that was in his high life living, they just disappeared. They just left him hanging.
I have that energy that CJ feels towards Shark Tale. I don't know why I was losing my mind on it earlier. But Surf's Up, bro. You cannot tell me like I embody Surf's Up to this day. But y- literally at its core, it's don't meet your heroes, but the main character becomes someone else's in a sense. And the adult lesson is that sometimes the one you look up to is hiding out in a shack somewhere on an island that like they gave up on their dream to fully surf and be the greatest surf legend. And Cody Maverick is like, bro, Z, what has happened to you, buddy? He was washed up. But he never lost his heart for surfing. He just it was the reputation that got too big to uphold. And then Cody revitalizes like his love for surfing and they end up like attacking the waves together, and it's a great movie. Can't go wrong with penguins. But yeah, I just feel like Cody Maverick a lot of the time, let me be me, bro, and that's like a cool adult lesson I cherish. But also how Cody basically breaks out of the expectation of his parents, and it's really his mom and his older brother, but they didn't believe he could do it or just live out that dream of being the best at his dream field, like to surf and be good at that. They didn't think much of it, but he pursues it to the point where he becomes great. And He doesn't step on anybody along the way to get there. I noticed very early on in the film when the meat of the film happens that Cody just loved to surf, but he didn't like step on other people to make it to the top in any sort of way. So that's really cool. And yeah, like solid kids movie. There's so many others. I love like Stuart Little and Over the Hedge and stuff, but Surf's Up, Cody Maverick, just let me be me, bro. I say that over and over again. Uh,
It's just a really nice, great lesson. Even though people, it seems like people aren't in your corner, there is somebody that is, and you may wait a long time for something to happen for you to achieve your dreams, but they will come in time. You think that you're learning so much from who you look up to that you don't really see them as human. Even celebrities, we don't see them as human. I know everybody talks about that, but um, it was eye opening. I'll say it was eye opening for Cody to see that um, Z was indeed, just a regular person penguin, and even for Z, his lessons or uh, mm, uh, his lessons. Uh, what I'm trying to say is Cody helped him get out of his slump. So lessons or inspiration can come from where you least expect it, especially from someone younger than you, because you're expected to be old and wise. If you just happen to be older, as if you can't learn something. A lot of people act as if you can't learn something from anyone younger than you. And it's funny because um, Z was inspired and learned a lot from Cody. Learned and was inspired just as much as Cody was with him, and probably even more. Vince, have you seen Surf's Up?
Yeah, I have, but it's been a while. I honestly don't remember like the storyline.
I feel like you're a one and done type of guy. Like you watch it and then you're like, all right, yeah, I've seen it.
No, I mean, I don't wanna I don't wanna upset Justin, but I think South's Up might be a little bit forgettable.
Oof,
I don't
oof,
know, that might be a hot take.
dang.
Whoa.
Oh, snap them fighting words.
But I do remember some penguins surfing, and I think some guy was trying to live up to was it his hero, Big Z? And then when
Yeah,
he met him, he was very disappointed. So I guess
Yeah.
moral stories don't meet your heroes,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Are you
yeah.
more of like a happy feet kind of guy? Is this what you're trying to tell me, Vince?
I mean, I will say Happy Feet was, I mean, because of all the singing, it's more memorable to me, to be quite
I
honest
love
with you.
I love
That's
Happy Feet.
crazy.
I also want to say I don't respect that about Surf's Up. I agree with Vince. I don't like the message of not meeting your heroes. I think breaking it down more, like what Brandon said, just realizing that they are human. You can meet your heroes all you want, but you just got to realize they aren't super people. They are humans at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you just described the lesson from Surf's Up. He definitely meets Big Z and then discovers that he's regular. He's not like the figure, the the mystery that surrounded him. Like he wasn't so larger than life. He was just um the expectation put on Big Z led to his downfall. I guess the pressure. So Cody reminds Big Z like it's just about the love of the surf and that's so cool. But um he didn't end up the villain or anything. Maybe Big Z was like a conflict, a point of conflict at one moment in the movie, but yeah, like he definitely stayed friends with Cody. It's just more about your heroes being not larger than life, similar to you, not necessarily better, and they still met and like got along though.
That reminds me of The Incredibles. What was Buddy's name that got butthurt? Wasn't it Syndrome?
Yeah.
He got butthurt because Mr. Incredible treated him some type of way and he looked up to him. Then he became a whole villain because his idol just couldn't pay attention to him for like 30 seconds.
That's a lesson in itself too. You can't put people on a pedestal because they will always disappoint you, whether they mean to or not.
Bro, you saying that is so factual because with The Incredibles, that movie aligns more with not meeting your heroes. I think like with Syndrome, he started out as like a up and coming hero, or maybe Buddy looked like a sidekick. Let's face it. He saw Mr. Incredible, but that interaction went so sour so fast and then becomes like the main bad guy. And Syndrome with the Incredibles family, they were at odds with each other. Like he put Mr. Incredible up on that pedestal so high, but then became the adversary to his idol. Like that is nuts. So that movie lines up with the whole not meeting your heroes thing for real and
But
balancing
again,
that pressure.
if you're listening to this, meet your heroes. I definitely think you should meet your heroes. Just remember that they are human and don't put them on a pedestal.
Did you have anything to say about that before I say something? Because I have something I want to say about that.
Who?
Yeah, you.
If I had to choose, if I had to choose one of the many things that I got from The Incredible, I will say that it's kind of interesting to see how I think it's the second movie. I might be wrong, please correct me, but I think the transformation or the transition that we see, from Mr. Incredible being like a superhero that was, I guess, in the news and doing big things, but then something happens and the world around him changes, and then he's no longer the superhero that everybody used to admire and adore. And so he's basically, in some ways, I don't want to say downgraded to being like a stay-at-home dad. I mean, he has a job, he has a regular job, and it's like, what do you do when what do you do when your life changes and the glory of the past is not there anymore and you have to adjust and try and make your present circumstances work? And even though it seems boring and different, you still have to show up every day and you still have to keep up with their responsibilities. So it was interesting watching him go through that entire experience.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Going back to the specifically, I think we should put some responsibility on Mr. Incredible too. Even the movie should have because he didn't have to treat him that way at all. That's a lesson in itself. You gotta be careful how you treat people because you never know what they are capable of. And that hurt drove him to feel like he wanted to hurt people. Even he wanted to hurt his entire family, even though that one person did it. And that goes to the saying, hurt people. But he didn't. I know he didn't do it. He didn't attack the family to hurt them individually. He did it to attack um, Mr. Incredible. And I do think that Mr. Incredible should have at least acknowledged that, hey, I'm sorry for how I treated you back then. Not because he did say that, in the middle, um, while he was being attacked, if you remember. But at the end, well, never mind. You know what? Because of what actually they had to rewrite it. I think that there should have been some accountability, like saying, genuine after the big fight or something, genuine saying, "Hey, I'm sorry for how I treated you back then," you know, because that could have went a long way if that happened. But I just remember, that's one of my favorite movies too. But I just remember, oh yeah, Syndrome was defeated by a plane. So he can't say, what, I'm sorry there, but don't say it now. Don't say I'm sorry now just because, oh, you got caught, or because you're forced to, because you're in that type of situation. That's crazy. I didn't even think about that. There's also with Violet. Violet's my favorite character. She's one of my other wives, y'all. But it's also there's also a theme with her about being comfortable in your skin. You know, she hid herself a lot behind her not behind her she hid herself a lot behind her hair. Not to mention, obviously, you know, her powers reflect how she feels about herself. She feels like she wants to disappear. She's awkward and everything like that. And by the end of the movie, she learns to slowly open herself up to liking and loving herself, which is why, you know, her hair is finally pulled back, which is a visual representation of how, you know, she has changed, not necessarily only how she looks um, at herself, but looks at the world too. You know, she can finally see it for what it is, I guess, or for what she's experiencing, because you're hiding yourself behind your hair too, but you can also, you know, you also don't see anything if you hide. You don't experience if you don't hide. If you hide, so um, I just thought about that myself. Actually, see, it's amazing how you can go back and look at these things and equate it to your real life situation. You know, and it's like, you know, movie makers don't just come up with this stuff out of thin air. It usually works when you've been through it yourself, or if you know someone that's been through it that's helping you. I think that's pretty cool.
With each character in that superhero family, they learned an individual adult lesson, you could say. And Violet, the one with the invisibility powers, decides to be seen and show up more, show herself more. And then with Dash, I guess he like took life at a slower pace because fast doesn't always win the race called life, you could say. And
Right,
for Elastigirl, she is flexible as a mom and as a superhero, but realizes there are just certain things that you can't control, I guess, because like eventually you'll snap or you'll break. Like she was flexible, but learned to work with her husband in raising a family and balancing the superhero life together. She was quite literally spreading herself thin as the stretchy girl, and then the husband, Mr. Incredible himself, takes a back seat from having to hold the weight of the family on his shoulders, I guess.
right.
So yeah, that's kind of cool that the writers knew what they were doing. They cooked with that movie. Incredibles is great.
Definitely one of the best Pixar movies.
I know y'all probably tired of hearing me talking about Shark Tale, which you shouldn't be tired because it's such an amazing movie. But I did want to say another movie that I was really attached to as a kid, and I go back and watch today, and it has some very meaningful adult lessons. But Fat Albert, the movie, the live action movie, I had that painted on my wall. Matter of fact, we should post that picture for promo for this episode of my childhood bedroom. But Fat Albert, man, the adult lessons in that really, I think morally, there's so many, and I'm specifically talking about the movie. When it comes to friendships, when it comes to teamwork, again, once it comes to being yourself, making friends, uh, learning how to speak. Much mouth didn't know how to speak till a white girl taught him how to speak. Ba ba baluba, ma lu. Anytime I say my head hurts, I'm like my beheba hurt. That's how much
Fat Albert has
Fat Albert
influenced you.
has.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, Fat Albert. What about Vince? What about you, Vince? What are some adult lessons?
You've been real quiet.
I think I'm gonna go with two movies. One is a bit on the light side, and one's a bit on the serious side. So I don't know how many of you have watched The Good Dinosaur. It's a Disney movie.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
So yeah, it's one of those slept on movies, but I think what I appreciate about the main character is that he doesn't look like the meanest guy. Like he's not very big. Like he looks like a teddy bear, like he couldn't how to fly or anything. But I don't want to give away the ending, but when you watch the whole story from the beginning to the end, Like he's the most unlikely person to become a hero, but he kind of proves the point that it's not always about what you look like on the outside or what you have on the outside, like big muscles and everything. It's about who you are on the inside and how you're able to inspire other people and make an impact on them. And so like the power of friendship. So it's a really good film. I'd really recommend that to everybody. And I think on the lighter side, I really appreciate Madagascar. I mean, it's a silly movie, but just learn how to have fun and just dance and be silly. I think they kind of like what's that one song like
I
I like
like
to
to
move it,
move
move.
it, move it.
So yeah, just be silly and just have fun and just, have a good time. So yeah.
I
Both
got
great movies.
fire movies. I got a question for y'all because I'm sitting up here thinking about other movies, and I'm interested in what are y'all perspectives on Toy Story? Like it can be in, I guess, either of the movies, but like, what are the adult lessons or some lessons that are shared in Toy Story?
Yo, there's so many. I think you don't ever escape being a kid deep down. And in Toy Story, like the third movie will always be top tier for me. I personally debate like that the fourth movie was unnecessary to even make, but um how the third one ended with Lotso and then Bonnie inheriting like basically all of Andy's toys, the his like best of the best toys was so heart-wrenching for me. I cried at the end of that movie, and I think like you don't really escape the kid deep down in you. Even if you go off to college, like there's still gonna be that, I guess, that little Andy in each of us, like little Justin, little Vince, Brandon, and CJ. So whatever toys you played with the most growing up, like you probably can remember that one like banger toy that you had. And like me, it was Hot Wheels. I had over 500. Like I genuinely had a drawer of just Hot Wheels that my mom like did away with, which is sad. But I remember vividly having the tracks, playing with them, and I would collect them. It was like a hobby. I wish I kind of kept up with as an adult because like that's kind of cool. Some people collect coins or pins, and other like stamps. But for me, it was Hot Wheels as a kid.
Funny enough, my like favorite childhood toys was Woody and Buzz. Like those were the toys that I like took everywhere. Like I had the Woody doll that you could actually pull the string and he would say stuff. Then I had the Buzz
Me
Lightyear
too.
figure where you like touch the buttons and you could play with his helmet.
Me
Uh,
too.
yeah, but okay. Always having the inner child. What is everyone else's perspective on Toy Story?
Yeah, I never really thought about it. Um, I definitely grew up on Toy Story. It was one of my um, main watches. Um, huh, maybe something about Woody. Hmm, I don't know. I don't know how to completely describe it yet. Hopefully, you guys can help me. There's one about Woody being a leader and um, realizing that he doesn't really have to be. In a way, like there's a lesson in thinking that you are in charge, but you may not always be. And there is definitely a theme of jealousy in the movie. Um,
That's a good one.
do-
Jealousy.
yeah, do you guys have anything to say about that? I haven't. My idea hasn't completely formulated yet, but I do recognize that those are some things that those two are definitely things that I've dealt with.
Yeah. I think going off, especially the jealousy aspect, not being so judgmental, especially specifically of the new guy in town or the new guy at work or the new person in your life. Like, in the first, specifically talking about the first movie, Woody has this hatred and this jealousy towards Buzz because he's Andy's quote unquote new favorite toy. Yet, once we get into the series, you just realize how valuable Buzz is and how. Pause. Why you make that face?
because it was like the series. It's a movie.
Franchise, whatever. Um,
Mm,
realize how valuable Buzz is.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, how close they are as partners, friends,
Mm.
yeah, co-toys. I really don't know. I would are they like best friends? I don't know.
Woody and Buzz.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if they're like best friends.
Yeah, they
They grew very
I,
close.
I would go as far as to say that they're best friends. There's no, Woody without Buzz and vice versa.
All
Especially
the adventures they went on together, it
exactly.
brought them close. And that's a good point.
I
I
mean,
guess
risk
treating the
their lives to
outsider,
go.
yeah,
Sorry, say that again.
it's tough to be the new guy. So treating the outsider like one of your own is a big theme in the Toy Story movies.
But
Vince,
another,
did you have a childhood toy that you loved growing up?
I mean, I did, but it wouldn't be like a Toy Story toy. I think it was like an aeroplane. Well,
mm,
I think I want to try and answer that question. Like, thinking about Toy Story 3, I really, just looking back right now, I don't know why, but I really identify with the bad guy, the villain, the teddy bear. I think his name was
Lots of
Lotso. And
Mm.
so, I mean, he is a bad guy, but if you follow his story, like he wasn't always a bad guy. He literally got abandoned, and then when he went, like he fought really hard to try and make his way back home, only to find that he got replaced by somebody else. So when you guys talk about jealousy, it's kind of like on one hand, it's like, was it justified? I mean, I can understand why he broke and became the person that he became, but it's just a really interesting lesson about how sometimes you just don't know the person that you see perhaps on the street or some or I don't know next to you who's like behaving in a way that's not, you know, that's not nice, but it's easy to judge that person without knowing what their story is and what they've been through. And so I liked how Toy Story handled that subject and makes you think deeply.
I thought you was gonna say you relate to Lotso because when we hug you, you smell like strawberries, just like him.
I don't know about strawberries, but yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm glad that you say that though, because that just made me realize that there's a parallel between Woody and Lotso. They went through essentially the same thing, but handled it differently. So there's a lesson there that it you can go through the same thing and you know how do you say, you can go through the same thing and yet deal with it differently. There's a healthy way to deal with it, and then there's an unhealthy way to deal with it. Um, I can identify with both of them when feeling like somebody else is coming into the mix, and they are. It seems like, or they are indeed being treated better and things, or you have a friend that you were close to, and now they're you know talking to this new guy or this new girl, and it seems like you're left in the dust. But your question as to whether Lotso was justified, I would say to justify to do the things that he did, no, because he could have chose to handle that situation differently. Now, things can happen to you, but you choose how you let it affect you and what you do because of it. So, no, he's indeed not justified. Woody, um, I don't necessarily want to say he handled it differently, but his circumstances kind of made him do it. It was like the guilt or the pressure of the other toys kind of pushing him towards going to get Buzz, and then they had their little hash out, and then they, you know, became friends afterwards. But um, yeah, that's definitely a lesson that you can handle. Watch how you handle certain things.
I guess
Switching, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say a different way to say the same thing that you just said could be, like one person Lotso, that's a good example of what happens when you're operating from like a place of like trauma and you haven't healed and now you're hurting other people because somebody else hurt you. And then Woody could be an example of a healthy way to deal with trauma. You heal, but you also have friends who help you see a different way. And so I can see that.
Yeah.
Switching to a different movie, which is also a Pixar, one of the greatest Pixar movies, in all seriousness, Coco. I think from what I've seen, I haven't seen every Pixar movie, but from what I've seen, Coco has one of the deepest messages of them all. And it deals with family trauma and just the overall commentary on family, if anyone wants to expand on that.
I mean, with Coco, it has a very similar theme to Surf's Up about like not meeting your heroes. But with the family thing, I know it made me cry that movie.
Yes.
And I guess like the fact that Coco was the grandmother, correct?
His
She
his great
was
grandmother, yeah.
yeah, she was I guess like almost losing her memory or something, and it was just like really powerful to see the strength of like how the lengths you'd go for your family. And Miguel, right? He was cool. I just loved how music like played a big role in the family and everything. It was a great movie.
And the learning and celebration of your culture too.
Absolutely. Celebration of culture, which I mean, that movie introduced me to the traditional culture of Day of the Dead. I've had no idea that was a thing that people celebrated until watching that movie. Um, but what I was even thinking about, and why I really brought Coco up, is the fact that the characters in that movie, I believe it was Miguel's mom or just the people he was raised by, they were like, no to music, no music, no music, because of something that happened, years before Miguel that he had no control over. Pretty much, you're hindering Miguel and you're stopping him from reaching his full potential because of something that happened way, way, way long ago. It's kind of hard to put it into words, but you see that like every day now. People aren't allowed to really go for their dreams and strive for their dreams and strive for their goals and reach their full potential because they're being held back by either parents or I don't even know, just by people because of things that are being held on from decades or years ago, which really frustrates me. But in this movie, it's obviously family.
And being led blindly, because I could kind of tell that all the family members, all of what they were doing was just following instructions. I don't even think they know the story of how Hector left the family to pursue a music career. I just think that because this person said, "Oh, we don't do this, and this way is the right way," and they kept telling people down the line that they're just following blindly to do that, and that's how certain narratives or certain things uh you know are just hearsay, and you follow blindly what everything is, or you don't really know what the truth is until you actually go find out yourself.
Facts. So, listeners, y'all definitely have some homework to do. Y'all gotta watch Shark Tale, gotta watch Fat Albert, gotta watch Coco, gotta watch Toy Story, gotta watch all the movies we just gave to y'all. But before we completely wrap it up, I want to talk to my guys, my friends here, and ask y'all, starting with Vince, if you were able to make an animated movie, to write and direct an animated movie, what would be the overarching adult lesson in that movie? Starting with you, Vince.
I mean, if I have to only choose one thing, I would most likely just based on what I've seen so far, I think the new superpower is showing the new superpower is not being afraid to show your weaknesses because I think everybody is always trying to show the best face forward, especially on social media. We only get the highlights. And so I think an animated movie about a superhero who is not so much about how strong he or she is, but more like how they're able to use their weaknesses to show that, hey, I'm also human, but I can also be strong by embracing all of me, like both the good and the bad, and then using that to somehow change the world. I think that's the angle I would go for. Yeah.
Nice. Justin.
Yeah, so for me, that's a great question. I'm already writing one, and the lesson would be life is worth living, that things will be okay. And that's kind of the main core message with like the story surrounding it being about a girl who doesn't see herself past graduation, and there's a miraculous encounter with a talking animal in a moment of dire need that she like speaks with, and this animal like talks her down and takes her through the city and to see the beautiful things in life that she was missing out on. So yeah.
Mr. Brandon.
I think I would do mine about my story would be not letting your past determine your present or your future.
Cool. You straight to the point like that. Cool. Um, and mine would be self-love is the best love. From the perspective of, treating yourself the best. Like, one thing that frustrates me is I have some friends and just some people I know who could never go out to eat by themselves because they just think that's something that is so weird. Like, oh, people are going to judge me. People are going to look at me weird if I go out to a restaurant by myself. Who cares? Go out and eat. Enjoy your own company. And I don't know if I'm preaching to anyone here. I don't know if y'all have ever done that, but hey, I've been to the movie theaters by myself. I celebrated my birthdays by myself. Like, I've done so much by myself. In one hand, like, I haven't had a choice. In another hand, it was my choice. But there's nothing wrong with it. Treat yourself like a diamond, whether you have someone there with you or not. And that's something I wish was more normalized, right? Is doing different things by yourself and showing yourself self love for sure.
I agree. I like that. I definitely like that. I take myself to the movies all the time when I can. I love it. Yeah. Thank you guys for the conversation today. Thank you, listeners, for listening in. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment, share. We're gonna wrap this up, and we'll see you next time. We out.